Tom had never planned to leave Earth. He was a normal Australian student from a dry coastal town where the sun was harsh and the land was unforgiving. Life there taught people to stay calm, work hard, and never panic. When the global exchange program announced that one human student would study at an alien learning station, Tom signed up without much thought. He only wanted to see something new. The alien station floated far from Earth, shaped like a wide silver ring. It was called Larn Station, and it held students from many worlds. The aliens believed this exchange was safe. Humans, according to their research, were weak, emotional, and fragile. Many aliens thought humans survived only because of technology, not strength or courage. When Tom arrived, he wore simple clothes and carried one small bag. He looked around with curiosity, not fear. Alien students watched him from a distance. They were taller, thinner, or covered in scales, fur, or smooth skin. Some whispered, some laughed quietly. One tall alien instructor named Vec guided Tom through the main hall. The hall was wide and bright, filled with floating screens and moving platforms. "This station follows strict rules," Vec said. "You must obey all commands." "No worries," he said with a relaxed smile. That smile confused Vec. Tom was assigned a small living pod. It was clean and cold. The bed was hard, and the light stayed on unless turned off manually. Tom shrugged and unpacked his few things. He had lived in worse places during school camps back home. The next day, Tom attended orientation with other students. The aliens spoke in a shared language that humans had learned over many years. The lesson was about physical limits of different species. A floating chart showed numbers and graphs. The instructor explained that most species on the station lived under low-gravity worlds. Their bodies were light and flexible, but not strong. Humans, the instructor said, evolved on a heavy planet and used machines to survive. Several alien students looked at Tom and made soft clicking sounds that meant amusement. Tom sat quietly and listened. After the lesson, the students were guided to a training area. The floor could change gravity levels. This was a normal test for new arrivals. The gravity was set low so most species could move easily. Tom stepped onto the floor and nearly floated. He laughed softly and adjusted his steps. An alien student named Ixo watched him closely. Ixo was short, with 4 eyes and thin arms. He expected the human to struggle. Then the gravity slowly increased. Alien students began to move slower. Some used rails for balance. Tom stopped smiling, but he did not panic. He planted his feet and breathed steadily. When the gravity reached a level marked unsafe for humans, the instructor prepared to stop the test. Tom raised his hand. "It's okay," he said. "I'm good." The instructor hesitated, but allowed it to continue for a few more moments. Tom bent down and picked up a dropped datapad. It was heavy, very heavy. The instructor stared. That weight was not meant to be lifted by any student. The test ended quickly after that. Whispers spread across the station. Some aliens said the machine was broken. Others said humans had hidden strength. Later that day, Tom was asked to help move supplies in a storage area. The task was meant to keep him busy, not test him. A sealed cargo door had jammed. Small machines tried to pull it open and failed. Tom watched for a moment.
"Mind if I try?" he asked. The technician laughed.
"You may attempt," the alien said, clearly not serious. Tom placed his hands on the door edges. He braced his legs and pulled. The door opened with a deep metallic sound. Bob. The room fell silent. The technician slowly backed away. Tom wiped his hands on his pants. "Might need oil," he said casually. That moment reached the station leaders within minutes. High above the training areas, the council chamber lit up. Screens showed recordings of Tom's actions. The leaders of Larn Station watched in silence. "This is not expected," one leader said. "Humans should not have this capacity," another replied. A third leader leaned forward. "Perhaps this one is an exception." "Or perhaps our data is wrong," said another. They decided to observe Tom more closely. Not openly, quietly. That evening, Tom shared a meal in the common hall. Alien food was bland, but filling. He did not complain. He noticed some students avoiding him now. Others stared with fear. Izo sat across from him slowly. "You are different," Izo said. Tom smiled. "Everyone is." Izo tilted his head. "Your body endures more than expected." "Why?" "Back home, the land is tough. Heat, storms, animals."
"You learn early or you don't last."
Ixo processed this. "Our worlds shelter us." Tom nodded. "That's nice." The simple answer stayed with Ixo long after the meal ended. Later that night, Tom lay on his hard bed, staring at the ceiling light. He missed Earth's sky. But he was not afraid. He felt something else. Like he was being watched. He was right. Hidden sensors tracked his breathing, heart rate, and movement. The data confused the analysts. Tom's body stayed calm even under stress. His mind showed low fear responses. The station leaders made a decision. If humans were stronger than believed, they needed to know how dangerous they truly were. They approved a deeper evaluation. And far away, on Earth, a small signal confirmed Tom's safe arrival. A quiet human ship adjusted its course slightly, just enough to stay closer than planned. No one on Larn Station noticed. Yet, the aliens believed they were studying a weak species. They had no idea this was only the beginning. Tom's second day on the station started early. The light in his pod turned on automatically. He stretched and moved to the small dining area. Alien students were already gathering, whispering and pointing at him. Tom noticed but did not react. He poured a drink from a strange dispenser and tried a small portion of alien food. It tasted like cold paste, but he managed to eat without complaint. After breakfast, the instructors led the students to a new area. It was called the Adaptive Zone. The walls shifted and changed, creating obstacles for training. The aliens had designed it to challenge every species. Some floors tilted, some walls moved. Strange creatures simulated attacks. The instructors expected Tom to struggle, perhaps fail. As soon as he stepped inside, Tom observed the patterns. His eyes moved quickly from one danger to another. Alien students stumbled and fell almost immediately. Tom walked carefully, then ran when necessary, leaping over obstacles that others needed machinery to handle. He carried no weapons. He made no noise. The instructors watched in disbelief. A creature lunged from the corner. It was small but sharp, and its claws could tear thin metal. Tom caught it with one hand, holding it like a small pet. He set it aside gently, then continued moving. Ixo, the small alien who had begun to admire him, followed cautiously. Iso's four eyes widened as Tom calmly avoided every trap and danger. The training lasted for hours. By the end, most alien students were exhausted and injured. Tom looked fresh. He wiped sweat from his forehead and smiled. "Not bad," he said simply. The instructors whispered among themselves. One said, "Humans are more resilient than predicted." Another said, "This one may be an anomaly." After training, Tom was escorted to the observation deck. Raoul, the quiet technician, approached him. Raoul was not like other aliens. He had a gentle tone and watched everything closely. "Why are you not afraid?" Raoul asked softly. Tom shrugged. "Fear slows you down. You see, I grew up where fear is useless. Storms, wild animals, tough land. You learn to act, or you fail." Raoul tilted his head. He had access to all records of human history, but found them incomplete. "Your species, we do not fully understand," Raoul admitted. "Our records show weakness," Tom nodded. "Your records are old. People survive differently than machines can measure." Raoul remained quiet. He decided to keep a closer eye on Tom. There was something about him that disturbed the usual calculations. The station announced a surprise test. The human student and others were told to survive in a controlled zone with limited supplies. The zone simulated extreme conditions: fire, cold, storms, and creatures. The aliens expected humans to panic immediately. Tom prepared himself with a simple pack containing water, food, and a small multi-tool. He did not complain. He did not overthink. The zone doors closed behind them. A cold wind blew. Fires lit in controlled patterns. Creatures prowled. Alien students screamed. Tom scanned the area. He used his senses, memory, and instinct. He found shelter quickly and made a small fire to keep warm. Creatures approached, but Tom did not run. He used his tool to block and distract them, then retreated calmly when necessary. Other students were in chaos. They called for help. Tom offered simple advice: move slowly. Watch the patterns. Use what you have. Some listened. Some did not. Those who followed survived longer. The instructors on the observation deck were stunned. Ixo was saved by Tom when a large predator appeared. Tom grabbed Ixo's small arm and pulled him to safety. Ixo gasped. You are incredible," he said. Tom shrugged.
"I'm just careful. You can do it too."
At the end of the test, the instructors reviewed the data. They had expected fear, failure, panic. Instead, Tom had endured every challenge without serious injury. Alien students looked exhausted and frightened. One instructor said, "We underestimated humans." Another added, "Perhaps humans are dangerous after all."
"You are different. We expected fragility."
Instead, "You are strong and calm." Why? "I grew where nothing waits for you. You either survive or you don't." Simple as that. Ra made a quiet note. He was beginning to doubt everything the station believed about humans. Later, Tom encountered a sealed hatch in a maintenance corridor. Machines had tried to open it for hours without success. Alien students avoided it. Tom approached. He inspected the hatch carefully, then pushed. It opened easily, sliding back with a smooth metallic sound. Small pieces of debris that had jammed the door fell aside. The aliens watching via cameras froze. Tom walked through the corridor casually. "Seems easy once you know how," he said aloud. Raoul, hidden nearby, made another note. He realized that human intelligence and adaptability were unlike anything recorded. By evening, whispers about the human student spread across the station. Many students avoided Tom out of fear. Some studied him secretly. The leaders convened. Screens displayed Tom's actions: lifting heavy doors, surviving the zone, helping other students. "This is unexpected," one leader said. "Our predictions were wrong." Another responded, "Perhaps this human is an exception." Perhaps not. The council decided to increase observation. They would test humans in ways that had never been used before. Tom, unaware of the council's discussion, enjoyed a simple moment alone in the observation balcony. He looked out at the stars. The station spun slowly, reflecting light. The distant earth glimmered faintly. He missed home, but he was not afraid. He had faced harder challenges than alien creatures or heavy gravity. He had faced life itself. That night, as he prepared for sleep, a quiet alarm sounded. It was not for him. It was a station-wide alert. Sensors had detected strange energy readings from outside. Unknown vessels approached, but they were far away. Tom noticed nothing but watched the lights flicker. Rahl stayed nearby in the shadows. He knew the human was capable of more than anyone on the station realized. He also knew that the leaders were growing anxious. The calm human had already changed the perception of all the aliens around him. The second day ended quietly, but tension had grown. Tom had survived tests designed to intimidate, assisted aliens without harm, and revealed weaknesses in the station's assumptions. Some aliens were beginning to fear not his anger, but his abilities. Others wondered if humans should never be underestimated again. And far away, outside the station, small human reconnaissance ships adjusted their positions. They had detected nothing unusual, but Tom's presence alone was enough to draw attention. The aliens still believed humans were weak, but the truth was already becoming clear. This human was unlike any species they had studied, and the station would soon regret underestimating him. The station was quiet the next morning, but tension lingered in the air. Tom awoke to the usual light in his pod and stretched, feeling the weight of the day ahead. He had learned to remain calm under pressure, and he sensed that today would be different. The instructors had called for a new exercise. This one was called the Hazard Zone. It was designed to test the limits of every species on the station. For most students, the name alone caused fear. Tom followed the alien guide through twisting corridors, past rooms filled with unfamiliar machines. He listened carefully to instructions, which were simple yet strict. Enter, survive, report, no external help. That was all. Tom nodded quietly, not letting worry show on his face. When the doors opened, the hazard zone appeared. The floor shifted under gravity fields. Sharp objects jutted from walls. Mechanical predators moved silently. Alien students froze. Tom stepped in calmly. He observed each obstacle carefully. Instead of rushing, he studied patterns. He watched how the machines and creatures moved. His senses were alert, but his mind remained steady. Almost immediately, a predator lunged at an alien student. The student screamed. Tom reacted instinctively. He grabbed a piece of debris nearby and used it to block the attack. He pushed the predator back, keeping it from harming anyone else. Then, without hesitation, he helped the alien student to their feet. The instructors on the observation deck were shocked. Humans were supposed to panic, not react quickly and think clearly. Screens showed Tom moving through danger after danger, helping others instead of seeking only his own safety. Every alien student who followed his example survived longer. Those who panicked did not. Ixo stayed close. His small body shook, but his eyes followed every move. "How are you so calm?" he asked quietly. Tom smiled faintly. "Fear makes mistakes. I learned early that panic kills. Watch, learn, then act." As they moved deeper into the zone, gravity shifted again. A large area of the floor collapsed. Alien students fell into a pit designed to trap them. Tom leapt across easily, extending a hand to pull Ixo and another student up. Several instructors gasped at the strength and timing. They began whispering to each other. "This human, he is different. He is beyond what we predicted." Later, a simulated storm erupted. Fire and wind combined in a small arena to test endurance. Tom found a corner to block himself and the other students from harm. He used debris to create a barrier, shielding everyone from heat and wind. The aliens around him began to respect his skill. Some were afraid, some were amazed. During the test, an emergency message flashed. A warning light indicated the arrival of an unknown ship outside the station. The aliens panicked. They assumed it was an attack. Tom noticed their reaction and remained calm. "Calm down," he said. "We do not know what it is yet. React without fear, not with panic." He had learned to fear almost everything, but Tom's presence changed that. You are amazing." The exercise continued for hours. Tom moved swiftly through traps, outsmarting mechanical predators and avoiding hazards. He offered advice to alien students who listened, guiding them safely. He carried those who could not keep up. Every action was simple, precise, and effective. By the time the test ended, most alien students were exhausted. Some had minor injuries. Tom was unharmed, calm, and even smiling. The instructors could not hide their shock. They had predicted fear, injury, and chaos. Instead, the human had mastered every challenge. Later, Tom returned to his pod. He felt the weight of the day, but not fear. He understood that aliens had underestimated humans. The station's leaders gathered secretly. Screens displayed Tom's every move. They argued among themselves. "This is impossible," one leader said. "Humans are weak. They cannot survive what he did." Another shook its head. "We must re-evaluate. This human is exceptional." A third whispered, "Perhaps humans are more dangerous than we thought." Meanwhile, Rawl, the quiet technician, observed Tom from a distance. He was beginning to understand that humans were not fragile. Their strength, intelligence, and calmness were unlike anything the station had studied. He realized that this single student had already changed perceptions. That evening, Tom explored a maintenance corridor. He found a sealed hatch, jammed and impossible for most machines to open. Alien students avoided it. Tom examined the lock. He pushed with steady force, and the door opened smoothly. The sound echoed through the corridor. Small debris fell away. Rail, watching secretly, made a note. The human's skill and strength were not only physical but also mental. He could adapt, think, and act under pressure. No species on the station had shown this combination. Tom moved through the corridor casually, observing machinery and noting potential hazards. He did not rush. He did not panic. He simply studied, then acted. Back in the common hall, whispers about Tom grew louder. Alien students shared stories of his endurance, calmness, and ability to handle danger. Fear mixed with admiration. Some began to respect him. Others quietly worried. The council convened again. They reviewed every recording from the hazard zone. They debated how to handle this unexpected development. Some argued to study humans further. Others warned that humans could be a serious threat. Raul approached Tom quietly. "You are different," he said softly. "We expected weakness. Instead, you show strength, calm, and skill. How can this be?" Tom shrugged. "Where I come from, survival is simple. You either adapt or you do not. That is all." Ral remained silent, processing the implications. He realized that the station's records on humans were incomplete. They had assumed weakness based on old data. One human student had already proven those assumptions wrong. As night fell, Tom returned to his pod. He looked out at the stars. The distant Earth glimmered faintly. He thought about home, about the challenges he had faced there, and about the ones he faced now. He felt confident. He was not afraid of the aliens, their machines, or the tests. Unbeknownst to Tom, outside the station, a small fleet of unknown ships adjusted their positions. They had detected unusual readings, but nothing seemed alarming. Yet, Tom's presence alone had caused subtle shifts. On the station, the aliens still believed humans were weak, but the truth was becoming harder to ignore. Tom had survived every challenge. He had helped others. He had demonstrated intelligence, strength, and calmness under pressure. Ral made one final note before retiring for the night. Humans were no longer a species to underestimate. They were resilient, clever, and disciplined. This one student was proof. The third day would bring new challenges. Tom was ready. He had faced storms, creatures, traps, and fear itself. And through it all, he remained steady, calm, and in control. The station had begun to regret underestimating him. The aliens believed they were studying a fragile species. They were wrong. Tom had shown them that humans were far more capable than they could ever imagine. And this realization was only the beginning. The morning began with a low hum across the station. Tom woke to the usual light in his pod and moved calmly through the small room. His mind was clear, focused, and ready. He had already survived multiple tests, but today felt different. There was a tension in the air he could almost feel. Even before stepping into the hall, alien students whispered about him in corners, some with admiration, some with quiet fear. The instructors called all students to the central hall. The humans and aliens were to participate in a new test. This one was meant to simulate a crisis in the station. Emergency doors would seal sections, alarms would sound, and environmental controls would become unstable. The instructors expected humans to panic immediately. Tom, as usual, showed no fear. He walked calmly to the assembly point, nodded politely to the instructors, and waited for instructions. When the doors closed and the test began, chaos erupted. Fire simulators lit, gravity fields shifted, and mechanical predators moved through the halls. Alien students screamed, stumbled, and clashed with each other. Tom stayed calm. He analyzed every hazard, every shift in gravity, every movement of the creatures. He calculated the best path and acted. A group of alien students became trapped in a corridor as walls moved inward. Panic overtook them. Tom arrived, assessed the situation, and pushed against the moving walls with steady strength. They stopped, giving the trapped students enough space to escape. He guided them carefully to safety. His hands were steady, his voice calm. "Stay low. Move slowly. Follow me." The instructors observed with disbelief. A human should have panicked. They should have been weak. Instead, Tom acted like a natural leader. Alien students, even those who had doubted him, began to follow his instructions. Ixo stayed near Tom, wide-eyed and learning from every move. The test escalated further. Sections of the floor collapsed, creating deep pits. Tom used debris to create makeshift bridges, helping the others cross safely. Fire simulators moved unpredictably, yet he timed his movements perfectly to avoid danger while shielding weaker students. Every action was simple, precise, and effective. In the observation chamber, the station leaders argued. "This human is more capable than our species," one said. Another responded, He helps others instead of himself. This is not natural weakness. Meanwhile, outside the main observation area, Rawl watched quietly. He had grown increasingly concerned about the assumptions the station held about humans. Tom was proving that the records were incomplete. His intelligence, strength, and calmness under pressure were not typical of any species studied before. Suddenly, an alert flashed. Unidentified ships were detected approaching the station. The alien leaders panicked. They assumed the vessels were an attack. Security protocols activated automatically. Weapon systems powered up. Drones swarmed corridors, scanning for threats. The students in the test area froze. Fear spread like wildfire. Tom observed calmly. "Don't panic," he said to nearby alien students. "We do not know what this is. Stay calm and move carefully." Izo glanced at him in disbelief.
You are not afraid?"
Tom shook his head. "Why should I be? Fear is a tool for mistakes. Act carefully, or you will fail." The human presence alone caused tension among the aliens. Some whispered that humans were strong, but controllable. Others, like Rawl, began to realize that strength and intelligence combined could be dangerous. In the control room, the aggressive alien faction argued for a preemptive strike. "The humans cannot be trusted," one said. "They will attack if we do not strike first." Rawl intervened. "This human student is not attacking. Observe. Do not act hastily. He is calm, intelligent, and strategic. Perhaps we should reconsider our assumptions." The leaders ignored him. Security drones moved into alert positions. Tom, sensing the rising tension, acted. He approached the council chamber calmly. The doors closed automatically behind him. He faced the alien leaders alone, with no weapon, no fear.
"I do not wish harm," Tom said simply, "but you are acting on assumptions."
"I am not a threat unless forced. If you attack, you will see the full strength of humans."
"You must choose carefully." The chamber was silent.
"The public is died." No one spoke. The sensors outside detected increased energy outputs from the alien weapons systems. The human fleet, which had been monitoring from a safe distance, responded instantly. Target locks were established across the station. The council realized that the human fleet could destroy the station in moments. Panic grew among the leaders. "We must stop this," one shouted. Tom stood calmly. "Stand down. You have a choice. Fight and risk destruction, or listen and learn. Humans fight only when forced, but we act fast and with precision." Rawl observed closely. He understood that Tom's calmness and reasoning were as powerful as any weapon. The aggressive faction's plan to strike first failed as the leaders hesitated. Outside, the human fleet maintained its position, ready to act but awaiting orders. Tom had already coordinated this through subtle communication systems. The aliens were trapped between fear and the reality of human capability. Inside the council chamber, Tom continued, "I am one student. I do not represent all humans, but my presence should be enough to show that assumptions are wrong. We do not seek war, but we survive and protect ourselves." The aggressive faction had no choice but to back down. Their plans were neutralized. Tom's calm and intelligence had averted disaster without violence. Rawl stepped closer to Tom after the council dispersed. "You have changed everything here," he said softly. "Your species, your presence, it has forced a reconsideration." Tom nodded. "I am not here to fight. I am here to learn and survive. That is all." Later, as the station quieted, Tom returned to his pod. He reflected on the day. He had faced not only the tests but the fear and assumptions of an entire species. He had protected others, demonstrated calm under pressure, and prevented unnecessary conflict. The aliens had learned something vital. Humans were not fragile. They were strong, intelligent, and capable of strategic thought. One student could influence perceptions, alter plans, and prevent war. The aggressive faction retreated to reconsider their positions. The council recognized the need to revise assumptions. Ral made further notes on human capabilities, realizing that records and data would never fully capture the strength and discipline of one human in practice. Tom gazed out at the distant stars. He thought of Earth, of his home, and of the lessons he had learned in a harsh but predictable environment. The station, for all its technology and knowledge, had underestimated the human spirit. That miscalculation could have cost them everything. For the first time, many aliens feared not attack, but disappointment. They had underestimated humans, and that was a mistake they would not forget. And far outside the station, the human fleet remained vigilant. They had responded quickly, but only to protect. They trusted Tom to manage the situation without escalating violence. His calm and skill had ensured peace. That night, the station was quiet. The students were exhausted. The leaders whispered about human potential, and Ral continued his secret observations. One human student had already reshaped the thinking of an entire alien station. Tom slept peacefully, unaware of the full extent of the impact he had caused. The aliens still believed humans were weak, but the truth had already begun to change their world. The next day would bring more tests, more challenges, and more surprises. And the aliens would continue to learn that humans were not a species to underestimate, especially when one student could change everything. The station was tense as the next day began. Tom woke early, as usual, feeling calm and ready. He had survived challenges that no alien student had expected him to endure. He had faced simulated storms, predators, shifting gravity, and now he sensed the tension in the air was deeper than before. Alien students avoided him in the halls, some out of respect, some out of fear. He moved quietly, observing without panic, ready for whatever the day would bring.
The instructors called a special assembly.
All students gathered in the central hall. The council had announced a new simulation, one that was far more complex than previous tests. It was designed to force strategic thinking, endurance, and adaptability. For humans, the instructors assumed it would be almost impossible. Tom did not flinch. He stepped forward calmly, waiting for the instructions. The simulation began with sudden environmental changes. Floors shifted violently. Fire vents erupted in unexpected patterns. Mechanical predators moved with greater speed and coordination than before. Alien students panicked. Many froze. Some ran blindly into hazards. Tom observed carefully. He calculated paths and acted decisively. He guided several students to safety using his strength, speed, and awareness. Ral, observing from a distance, realized that Tom's presence alone changed the outcome. Other students followed him instinctively. He did not need to give orders. His calm confidence inspired action. Ixo stayed close, learning with wide eyes. You see everything, he whispered. Tom nodded. You just have to watch first. Don't act until you know the danger. As the simulation escalated, alarms rang across the station. A real warning flashed on the central monitors. Unidentified alien ships were approaching. The council panicked. They assumed these vessels were hostile. Security protocols activated. Weapons systems powered up. Drones swarmed corridors, scanning for intruders. Alien students froze, unsure what to do. Tom remained calm. "Do not panic," he said quietly to nearby students. "We do not know what this is yet. Observe first, then respond." The aggressive faction of the council demanded preemptive strikes against the approaching ships. "They will destroy us if we hesitate," one leader said. "We must act first." Rawl intervened. "The human student is calm and observing. Perhaps we should learn from him. Reacting in panic will lead to mistakes." The leaders ignored the warning. Weapons powered up automatically. Drones moved into defensive positions. The approaching ships seemed to hesitate, scanning the station with sensors. Tom decided to act. He walked into the council chamber alone, unarmed and calm. The leaders looked at him, some with fear, some with anger. He spoke slowly, deliberately. "You are about to act on assumptions. I am not a threat unless forced. If you strike first, you will see the full strength of humans. I advise caution." The chamber was silent. The aggressive faction struggled to respond. Outside, the approaching ships began to adjust position. Human reconnaissance ships had detected the tension and established target locks, ready to respond instantly. Rawl observed closely. He realized that Tom's calm, clear thinking was more powerful than any weapon. The humans could strike if necessary, but Tom had already created a path to prevent violence. The aggressive faction argued to attack immediately. The leaders hesitated. The council chambers filled with tension. Tom stood silently, radiating calm authority. "I am one human. I do not represent all, but my presence should be enough to show your assumptions are wrong. Fight, and you risk destruction. Learn, and you survive." The aggressive faction reluctantly backed down. The weapons powered down slowly. Drones returned to standby mode. The approaching ships, detecting no immediate threat, held position. Rawl stepped forward. "You have prevented disaster without a fight," he said softly. "Your species, your presence."
It changes everything.
Tom shrugged. "I do not seek conflict. I am here to survive, to learn, and to help when I can. That is all." After the council dispersed, the station was quiet but filled with whispers. Alien students, now more cautious and respectful, watched him from afar. Some studied his calmness, some his strength. Many were afraid, not of anger, but of disappointment. They realized that humans were capable of much more than they had assumed. Tom returned to his pod in the evening. He reflected on the day. He had faced not only the station's simulations, but the fear and assumptions of an entire species. He had protected others, prevented a conflict, and demonstrated calm intelligence under extreme pressure. The leaders had learned a lesson that no data could teach them. Humans were strong, disciplined, and capable of precise, strategic action. Outside the station, the human fleet maintained its vigilance. They had responded instantly to the station's sensors, but had acted only to prevent escalation. They trusted Tom to handle the situation. His calm authority ensured peace without violence. Inside, Rawl made detailed notes on human capabilities. One student had already changed the perception of the council, the instructors, and the students. Humans were no longer considered weak. They were a force to respect. Tom looked out at the distant stars. Earth glimmered faintly, reminding him of home and the lessons he had learned there. The station, despite its technology and knowledge, had underestimated the human spirit. That miscalculation could have cost them everything. As night fell, The station became quiet. Alien students rested, exhausted from the day's simulations. Leaders whispered about human potential. Ral continued his secret observations. Tom slept calmly, unaware of the full impact he had made. The humans had proven their strength through one student. The aggressive faction had learned caution. The council had learned respect. And the station as a whole had learned that assumptions about humans were no longer valid. The next day would bring new tests and more challenges. The aliens would continue to discover that one human, calm and disciplined, could change the outcome of the entire station. Tom had already shifted the balance. The aliens had underestimated him, and that was a mistake they would not repeat. Even far outside the station, the human fleet held position, watching carefully. They had full confidence in Tom's judgment and ability to prevent violence. One student had prevented a potential disaster for the entire station. The day ended quietly, but the tension remained. The aggressive faction of aliens now feared not human aggression, but human potential. They realized that even one human could change everything. And Tom, calm as ever, prepared for whatever the next day would bring, knowing that his presence alone had already begun to reshape the thinking of an entire alien species. The station was quiet in the early morning, but the tension from the previous day had not disappeared. Tom woke in his small pod, stretching his arms and legs. He felt calm, ready for whatever would come. Alien students whispered in corners about him, some with fear, some with respect. The instructors and council members still watched his every move. They had learned to fear not his anger, but his presence and ability to think, act, and survive. The council had called an emergency meeting. Outside sensors had detected new ships approaching. These were human ships, part of a nearby fleet monitoring the station. They were close enough to intervene if anything went wrong, but they did not act without Tom's signal. The aggressive faction of the council argued that the humans were hostile and should be attacked immediately. Other members hesitated. Fear of a human response caused confusion. Tom walked calmly into the council chamber. He carried nothing, showed no fear, and moved with steady confidence. The leaders looked at him, some angry, some worried. He spoke clearly and slowly. "You are about to make a decision based on fear. I am not here to fight. I am here to learn, survive, and observe. If you attack humans, you will see the strength of my species."
I advise caution.
The aggressive faction shouted over him. "They are too close. They will destroy us if we do not act first." Listen to him. He has been calm and precise through every test. Reacting with fear will only bring disaster. I am only one human. The fleet outside will respond only if forced. You can choose to act wisely or act on fear. The consequences are yours. The council hesitated. Outside, sensors showed the human ships locking targets on the station's weapons systems. Every drone, every turret, every automated defense system was tracked. The humans were ready, but they would wait for Tom's signal. The council members finally realized that the humans were not attacking, but they were fully capable of doing so. Tom spoke again, calmly. "Your weapons are ready, but so are theirs. You may fight and risk destruction, or you may choose reason. Humans do not strike without cause, but when forced, we act quickly and decisively." Silence filled the chamber. The aggressive faction grew angry and frustrated, but they could not act without the others' consent. Slowly, they relented. Weapons systems powered down. Drones returned to standby. The threat of immediate conflict disappeared. Rahl observed from the shadows, realizing that Tom's calm authority had prevented war without a single shot being fired. The human fleet outside held position, waiting for confirmation that the station was safe. One student alone had altered the entire situation. Outside the chamber, some alien students approached Tom cautiously. They whispered their admiration and fear. "How? How do you stay so calm?" one asked. Tom smiled faintly. "I have faced storms, animals, and harsh lands where panic does not help. You survive by staying steady and thinking clearly." Ixo, who had stayed close throughout, nodded in understanding. "You are different. You make everyone around you follow reason instead of fear." Tom simply shrugged. "I do what I must." "That is all." The council, now quiet, realized the truth. Humans were not fragile, weak, or easily controlled. Even one human could prevent disaster, save lives, and force reason upon an entire species. The aggressive faction of aliens understood that their assumptions had been wrong. They had underestimated humans, and it had nearly caused war. Rawl made careful notes. The humans' calmness, intelligence, and physical ability were unlike anything in the station's records. One student had already changed the perceptions of leaders, instructors, and students alike. He realized that humans could not be measured only by data. Experience, discipline, and instinct were equally important. Later, Tom returned to his pod. He looked out at the stars, thinking of Earth, home, and the lessons he had learned. The station, with all its technology and knowledge, had miscalculated human capability. One human alone had already prevented disaster. The alien species had learned a lesson that no manual or calculation could teach. The human fleet outside remained vigilant. They trusted Tom completely. His judgment had ensured peace without conflict. His presence alone had altered the course of the station's actions. As the day ended, the station grew quiet. Alien students rested, exhausted from simulations and fear. Leaders whispered among themselves, reconsidering everything they believed about humans. Raoul continued his observations, realizing that this one human had already shifted the balance of perception in their species. Tom slept peacefully, unaware of the full effect of his presence. The aggressive faction no longer sought confrontation, and the council understood the need to revise all assumptions about humans. One student had prevented potential disaster and taught an entire station that humans were not a species to underestimate. The next day, the aliens would continue to learn from his presence. They would study, observe, and adjust their understanding. But for now, they had learned the most important lesson. Humans fight only when forced, but when forced, they act with unmatched precision, intelligence, and discipline. Tom had changed everything without violence. His calm authority, strategic thinking, and survival skills had prevented conflict and commanded respect. The aliens had underestimated humans, and that mistake would not be repeated. Far above, the human fleet held its position, ready but unthreatened. The station had learned that humans were not only strong, but also disciplined. One student had reshaped an entire alien perspective. Tom's presence alone ensured the station's leaders would think twice before acting rashly again. The aliens feared not attack, but failing to respect humans. One student had proven that discipline, calmness, and courage could alter the course of the galaxy. And as Tom finally rested, looking out at distant stars, the alien station understood the truth. Humans were far stronger and wiser than anyone had believed. One student had been enough to change the balance forever.